I fell in love with her before she even spoke. It was painfully ordinary, an office party, friends of friends, a glass of wine, and a meeting that felt less like a beginning and more like a continuation, as if we had met in some past life. She smiled like she already knew all my weaknesses. She spoke as if she could read my thoughts. Her name was Alia. She had a quiet voice and a strange laugh that, for some reason, sounded like music to me. She never said too much, but always exactly what needed to be said. There was more meaning in her silence than in hundreds of other people's words. She was the kind of woman you want to hold hands with, even when nothing is happening. A week after we met, we were already drinking coffee in my kitchen. A month later, we were waking up together, and I was amazed at how quickly she had become part of my everyday good morning. She didn't ask for anything. She was simply there, gently, effortlessly, like a dream that, for some reason, decided to linger in my reality. But the strongest feeling was that she was real. There wasn't a shadow of doubt in her eyes when she said she loved me. There was no rush in her touch. She had an incredible gift for being near without pressure. Her love was delicate, like the scent of perfume, impossible to hold, unforgettable once it's gone. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to know anything about her past. No names, no dates, no reasons. She once said, "It used to be hard," and I just nodded. Her gaze would shift when she recalled her past life. I thought it was pain. Now I know. It was part of the performance. I believed it all. That she was an orphan. That behind her was a betrayed childhood. That her ex had thrown her out in the middle of the night. That she had started from scratch, and I was her clean slate. Every story she told was like a movie. Emotional. Vivid. She knew how to tell things in a way that made me see them with my own eyes. She never asked for money, only shared. She didn't complain, just confided. And I accepted, protected, believed. Because how can you not believe someone you love? I started noticing small things after half a year. Calls she didn't answer. Tears at night, which she explained as just a hard day. Photos that disappeared from her phone. Names that popped up in conversation and then vanished from her memory. One day she said she had never been to Turkey, and a month later told a story about sailing on a yacht there with her girlfriends. I smiled and hugged her, and lied to myself. We all forget things sometimes. Because the truth blinds. And her lies were subtle, like silk, cold, soft, without a single knot. I thought I was building happiness with her, but she was just painting her comfort over my love. I believed it all. I didn't want to ask questions. I tried to be better than her past. I thought love was acceptance, that if someone finally stayed, it meant everything would be different. Honest, real. But the truth doesn't ask whether you're ready to hear it. It comes when its silence becomes louder than the lie. It started when I found her phone in the bathroom. She had left it on the sink while drying her hair. The screen lit up, a message from someone named L. "I miss you. As we agreed, this weekend." My heart dropped. But even then, I didn't dare open the conversation. I just put the phone back, pretended I hadn't seen anything. In that moment, I wasn't a man, I was fear. The kind of fear that's terrified of losing an illusion. The next day, I asked, "Who is Elle?" She didn't blink. "Lena, a friend from my old job," and added, "Don't you trust me?" Those 4 words, "Don't you trust me?" She said them with such aching tenderness that I believed her again, and then hated myself for doubting. Damaged by the past, I told myself, it's just a coincidence. But the cracks kept growing. She came home with scratches she couldn't explain. Her scent changed, as if she'd been using someone else's perfume. She suddenly started locking herself in a room for calls. "Work," she said, even though she had quit her office job long ago and freelanced from home. One evening, I heard her voice through the door. "Yes, he suspects nothing." Then silence. And then, "No, not yet. Wait." It hit me like a brick to the chest. But when she came out, smiling, soft, so familiar, I said nothing. Just stared, like I was seeing her for the first time. Trying to figure out what was real and what was just a rehearsal. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed everything in my head, every detail. How she held my hand, how she cried on my shoulder, how she whispered, "You're mine." And I wondered, was she acting or did she believe it herself? In the morning, she brought me coffee in bed, smiled, said, "You seem off today." I stayed silent, watched how she touched my shoulder, looked at me, so sincerely, so gently, and I couldn't tell if it was love or an actress on her final take. The next week, she left to visit her mom. For 3 days. No suitcase. No photos. Her phone went quiet. I found another message. A different name this time. Tonight, like we said, you have the key. There was no doubt left. I came home to our apartment a day earlier than she was supposed to. The door was unlocked. She was laughing in the kitchen with some man. His hands were on her waist. She leaned into him and said, "Just don't leave me again." I heard everything. I stood frozen in the hallway, cold inside like ice. And you know what the scariest part was? I wasn't angry. I felt relief. What was invisible had finally become visible. I wasn't chasing ghosts anymore. She wasn't a dream. She was a lie. And I was just a target she hit more precisely than anyone before. Her lies were subtle. I believed them all. But now, I had finally seen her real face. She came home the next day as if nothing had happened, with the same smile, the same lightness in her step. "Hi," she said, like we had only been apart for a few hours. But I already knew everything. I no longer had any doubts. I stayed silent, watched her take off her coat, set her bag on the chair, asked, "What should we eat?" And only then did I ask, "What's his name?" She froze. For a moment, like a statue, then tilted her head and whispered, "You weren't supposed to know?" I sighed. It was obvious. I just didn't want to see it. She didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't explain, didn't make up another lie. She only said, "I never wanted to hurt you." And I laughed. "Then you shouldn't have played at love." And then, for the first time, she looked at me not as a listener of her stories, not as a safe fallback, but as a person. I wasn't lying when I said I needed you. I just didn't need only you. That hurt more than the betrayal. Not because she had someone else, but because I was the backup plan. The person she came to when her real life got too heavy. The man she used when her other options broke. And you know what the cruelest part is? I still loved her, even in that moment, when she admitted everything. But something inside me died. I didn't make a scene, didn't scream, didn't ask how many there were. I simply said, "Leave." She didn't argue, just packed her things. Slowly, carefully. Every folded shirt, every pair of shoes, like the final act in a play I'd watched for far too long. When she walked out, the silence remained. But it wasn't empty, it was honest. For the first time in a long while, there were no lies beside me. No elegant words to cloud my mind. No smiles to cover betrayal. There was only me. And the truth. I walked around the apartment like it was a crime scene. Everything reminded me of her. The chipped coffee mug she used. Her earring that had fallen under the bed. The book she never finished but placed on the shelf to make it look like she had. I didn't destroy anything. Didn't throw her stuff out. I just packed it in a box. Because I finally understood. She was gone. And maybe she had never really been here. She existed in the form I wanted to see. She was a story I helped write. I believed, not because she lied well, but because I so badly wanted something to believe in. They say love is blind. But no, love sees everything. It just doesn't want to admit it. A few weeks later, I got a message. "You were the best thing I ever had." I'm sorry, I didn't respond. Not because I was strong, but because there was nothing left to say. Her lies were subtle. I believed them all. And maybe that's what saved me. Because only after the deepest fall do we finally learn how to stand on our own.